Every person has some aspects in his life or personality traits which he wants to hide even from himself. But what if the true growth is in embracing these dormant attributes? As Carl Jung once said, the process of individuation begins with the confrontation of these aspects. Is it possible that these things you've been running away from are the keys to your success? Well, according to Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, that might be the case.
The ego is supposed to be the representative of the real person.
Sounds fascinating, right? But there's more to Jung's insight about the shadow than just that.
When I say self, then you mustn't think of I myself, because that is only your empirical self.
It sounds a bit tricky, right? If it's not the empirical self, then what is it? Well, Jung has more to say on that.
When it is matter of the self, then it is matter of a personality that is more complete than the ego.
Think of the shadow as that hidden side of yourself, those traits and feelings you'd rather not face. Jung referred to it as a thing a person has no wish to be. It is the part of ourselves that we push to the side because it is unpleasant or doesn't align with how we want to be seen. But here's where it gets interesting. Perhaps it's this shadow side that needs to be embraced in order to achieve real personal development. So you're probably wondering, where does this shadow even come from? It starts forming when we're kids. As we grow up, we pick up messages from our families, schools, and society about what's okay and what's not. Do you recall how we are advised to suppress some feelings or actions because they do not conform to the appropriate demeanor? This process of hiding away parts of ourselves creates our shadow. The traits and behaviors that do not conform to these norms are thrown into what Jung referred to as a black box that one has to carry around. This leads to a sort of psychological blindness. There is a side to one's personality that one simply cannot see. It's what Jung describes as not knowing what is happening in your conscious mind.
They are not conscious of the fact that while they live a conscious life, all the time a myth is played in the unconscious.
But it's not all negative. The shadow contains a mix of qualities, both good and bad. Sure, it retains the forbidden feelings and impulses such as anger or jealousy, but it also contains the positive aspects of one's character that are yet to be developed. Jung described it as containing normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc. So, by not acknowledging our shadow, we are depriving ourselves of some potent sources of energy and inspiration. But there's more. The shadow doesn't just sit quietly. It actively influences our lives in ways that may be unexpected. One interesting aspect is that it's often attributed to other people. This means that we tend to project in other people what we do not like about ourselves or what we are ashamed of. Have you ever felt annoyed by someone's actions, but you can't seem to understand why this is the case? That might be your shadow at work. Often it's because that behavior reflects something you're uncomfortable with in yourself. So, the next time you feel that you're responding aggressively to a particular person, you may want to ask yourself, is there something in this person that triggers me? It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? But it gets even more interesting when you consider Jung's concept of the persona.
The persona is partially the result of the demands society has.
But that's not all. The persona is the mask we wear, the mask that we show to the world. It's how we maintain our social persona and engage with other people. On the flip side, the shadow is the hidden side that operates beneath the surface. While the persona is about how we wish to be perceived by society, the shadow is what we do not wish to reveal. The relationship between these two generates conflict within the mind. Jung thought that if we ignore our shadow and don't face it, it can cause a lot of inner struggle. If we don't deal with this, it can lead to real mental issues or even self-destructive behavior. So how do you start dealing with your shadow? First, you need to admit it's there. This means spotting the traits you'd rather not think about, seeing when you're projecting these traits onto others, and taking some time to reflect on them. For people to start this process of self-actualization, they require knowledge of ordinary shadow attributes, how to identify shadow projection, and self-reflection strategies. Shadow traits are usually things that people do not want to accept in themselves. For instance, jealousy, anger, or greed. But here's the catch. The shadow also has some positive aspects that you may be lacking in your life. For instance, you may be holding a creative desire or a good idea just because it's not in your personality. By knowing these characteristics, you can access new sources of power and motivation. Sounds interesting, right? But that's just scratching the surface when it comes to shadow projection. So what exactly is shadow projection? Well, projection is a process in which one moves his or her own feelings and emotions to other people. It can be expressed in different aspects of our lives. For instance, in relationships, one may find himself or herself already seeing the worst in the partner, hence provoking unnecessary quarrels. In parenting, you may end up imposing your own fears or unfulfilled dreams on your children. In the workplace, this projection leads to conflict when you presume that your priorities are in line with your coworkers. And with friends, you might react strongly to small issues because they trigger unresolved problems that you're dealing with yourself. It can feel pretty overwhelming, right? But don't worry, there are ways to work through these issues. First, try mindful observation. Be aware of the physical and emotional sensations you experience when you're triggered by something or someone. Second, explore your triggers. Try to understand why some traits or behaviors irritate you and whether they are a mirror of yourself. It is also very useful to maintain a shadow journal. Record what you observe and anything you learn. Be on the lookout for patterns as well. Whether it is behaviors or events, repetition is a sign of shadow issues. And do not neglect to delve into your recurring phobias, for they reveal aspects of the shadow that is most concealed. Sounds pretty intriguing, doesn't it? But there's more to the story. Integrating your shadow into your life offers several benefits. The first advantage is that it plays a role in increasing self-awareness. Thus, you get to know your patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that are at the unconscious level. This awareness can lead to a more fulfilling and authentic life. For instance, knowing that your responses to specific stimuli are based on unresolved conflicts can assist you in dealing with them, and therefore modify your behavior. But that's not all. Another benefit is improved relationships. By recognizing your own projections and triggers, you can avoid projecting your own feelings onto others and learn to respond to them in a more constructive manner. If you embrace your own shadow, you will be able to embrace the shadow in others, which results in less conflict and more understanding. For example, if you know that you're jealous, you will not transfer that jealousy to your partner, and therefore, the relationship will be healthy. And let's not forget about creativity. Jung referred to the shadow as the place of creativity because it has more than just the negative aspects. When you incorporate your shadow, you get to unleash more of your creativity. It's like finding new energy and inspiration in areas you hadn't explored before. By embracing the lighter sides of shadow traits, you can become more creative and experience personal growth. In short, Carl Jung's concept of the shadow sheds light onto the hidden aspects of our personality, offering a pathway to self-discovery and growth. By recognizing and integrating these repressed parts of ourselves, we can gain a deeper understanding of our motivations and behaviors. Shadow work has a transformative impact on self-awareness, relationships, and creativity. While embracing our shadow can be challenging, it leads to a more authentic and balanced life. As we continue to explore and integrate our shadow aspects, we open doors to personal transformation and a richer, more fulfilling existence. By confronting the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding, we can unlock our true potential and live more fully. Well, that marks the end of our video for today. We hope you liked and enjoyed it. On your way out, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like these. Till next time.